What's up, gamers? Welcome to a new episode of Last Cloudia. That's right. We're actually making a video that's going to be a bit different than what you normally see. Of course, as you can tell by the title, we're mainly going to focus on Arena today. I've been wanting to talk about Arena for a while, but for the longest time felt like I didn't really have enough experience to really be able to give a comprehensive video on, how this should work and, how to do well. So this is going to be a video that's going to be more towards, opinions about Arena, how you can build a team, how you can, put some strategies together. So this might be a long video. We'll see. There's a lot I want to talk about, but I might, chop off a few things. So just understand that I'm not going to be telling you like the most top tier thing you can possibly do to get ahead. I'm not necessarily a top, player as far as arena is concerned. But I think it's just something good for those who want to play an arena, who want to do a little bit better. This could be, if nothing else, kind of a beginner lesson in how to approach their arena. The first thing I kind of want to talk about too, in terms of the arena, is it even worth playing? Because this is something that, and I kind of understand where people are coming from. They don't like the idea of the arena because they have no motivation to really participate in the arena. I can kind of see that because let's just go ahead and go to the arena. Oh, and by the way, at the end of the video, I am going to go ahead and do a multi-poll, so I have to try to remember to do that at the end, so you can see if I get anything today. But if you take a look at where I'm at, I'm in the super ranking. I think it's like bronze 4 or something like that. So, okay, I guess I can't type on it now, but if I was able to receive rewards, I would only be getting blue and red, those charging orbs, and then of course some mother souls, and that's pretty much it. So when if that's all you're getting, and let's just be honest, no one's really playing arena for the blue and red orbs. So if the only thing that we're getting, as far as your dailies, is a few, and it depends on what rank you are too. Because if you're too low in rank, you're not even going to get Mother Souls. But basically, as far as dailies are concerned, you're mainly doing this for the Mother Souls. However, if you go to the shop, the other incentive to participate in the arena is that you can use some of the points you gain by winning to purchase things. Now, it is a bit of a slow grind, so I wouldn't depend on this, but with getting enough points in the arena, you can get Ethereum. That's really the only reason I play in the arena. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do play for the Mother Souls for the daily thing, but other than that, I mean, I'm just saving up for Ethereum. I don't think I've ever purchased anything. Now, they did recently add like clusters and stuff, which is nice, but the main purpose here, at least for me personally, is just the Ethereum. That's it. So that's kind of the incentive there. Now, if I'd like to make a suggestion, because again, I'm still not 100% sure if this is really enough incentive to get the general population to play. I think that, for at least for the people that are like top level, like, let's say super gold, right? Now, I don't know what the reward is for dailies on gold or anything like that, but if you're going to make it to where it's going to be worth being in the top place, you should potentially reward gems, things that you can use to get, tickets and stuff. So if you were to get us some crystals, there you go. I forgot what they were called. If you can give crystals to some of the top players, maybe for their dailies if they get high enough rank, or maybe like if there's a weekly reward that a top so many people would get, I think that would make the arena a little more competitive because people are not too many people are going to try to push hard just to get some Mother Souls. I like Mother Souls. I think they're great to have, but that's only enough for me to do, my 2 wins a day, and that's it. Because once you get 2 wins, you have enough to get your dailies as far as the reader's concerned. And I'm done. Like, I don't want to play anymore because at that point, I'm just risking losing ranking. So I would say, as a suggestion, maybe consider giving out crystals for rewards for top players to make the arena a little more competitive. And that's really my main criticism. Overall, I actually think that the arena in this game is pretty good. compared to a lot of the other mobile games that I played. A lot of these gotcha games in Arena, they're too random, and the power is just nothing to rely on. Like you're relying more on luck than anything else. In this game, I feel like you are relying on skill. I feel like if you can build the right characters with the right arcs and the right combinations, you can go far in the arena. Like I don't see myself in a situation in the arena here where I've lost because of bad luck. Because that was the issue that I have with games like Seven Knights and Heroes Charge and a few others that I played in the past. Is that a lot of times when I lost, I kept questioning why did I lose? I have this good team built. On paper, I should have won, but somehow I lost. And you can't explain it. It's just you were unlucky. So I feel like you're kind of punished for being creative. Whereas here, you can be a bit creative and do well. I think that that's really, really cool. So as far as how the arena is formatted, I think that is really good in comparison to a lot of the other gotcha games arenas out there. So I will congratulate the devs on making the arena actually kind of decent to play as far as fairness is concerned. Now, when you're building your team, make sure that you're prioritizing what you want your characters to do because that's going to make or break how your team operates as you're participating in the arena. Same with your formation. Your formation plays a part of it depending on, where you want your particular characters to be. You could also spar and test against your friends to see if your team could, actually do something decent. Now, this is a new thing because now they have it to where you can prioritize certain things in the new update. So you can prioritize skill one, two, or three. You can prioritize a specific magic element. You can prioritize healing, and you can also prioritize support magic. Now, in support magic, I'm assuming they mean debuffs and buffs. I could be wrong, so if I'm wrong on that, please correct me. But I'm assuming that support magic goes both ways as far as buff and debuff. If it's just one or the other, then you need to add another a thing that says like prioritize buffs and then prioritize debuffs. But if it does both, then I think that's fine. So, like I said, in the past, you didn't have all these options. You couldn't just prioritize a certain element or a certain skill, or things like that. So the fact that they spread it out a little bit does add a little bit of more strategy to the game. So I like that. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple of combination ideas that might help you as far as, going far in the arena. Like you keep in mind, this is just stuff that I've experimented with. There could be better options out there. I'm just going to give you some ideas so that you have at least the basics on what you should consider using as a combination. Now, as far as the person that's going to be, the one you're going to control, I would recommend specific characters to control. If you're going to be controlling a DPS character, Kohaku is definitely one of the best units out there that you can use. Especially if you have make it to where she prioritizes skill. Well, that will prioritizing only matters in autoplay. But if you're controlling her, what you can do is whenever you start the match, go to select an opponent or whatever, like change, I guess your target, and then pick which one that you want to focus on. Activate skill one, and it'll teleport her to that particular character that you want to attack, and then you can just start destroying their backline while the rest of your team does what they want to do. Now, that does put her in danger because obviously that might put more attention on her, but at the end of the day, it's probably worth it because, again, you're going to get potentially one or two kills off of, starting off this way. So, Kohaku, and there are a few others that have these kind of teleport attack type abilities that you could use. I'm just using Kohaku for my example because she's pretty much, the one that I use to do all this. Very, very strong when it comes to, just starting off and being super aggressive. Anyone with a teleport attack is definitely good to use. And then, speaking of Kohaku, and any character like her in general, and when I say like her, I'm talking about a certain ability. Anyone that has sharp eyes, which is the ability that whatever you attack, you use some of your MP to deal more damage. If you have anyone that naturally has sharp eyes, I would recommend equipping this arc, the Abandoned City of the Sea. Basically, battle start resist all restore all skills SCT by 15 seconds, which is not really a big deal. Physical damage plus 20% when MP is near empty. That's the important part. Now, the good news is when you start the battle, your MP is already going to be pretty much drained, but Sharp Eyes is gonna keep that MP amount low so that you'll all constantly get that 20% boost. So that's a very good way to have your point person, start being super aggressive. And then, of course, it nullifies shrink down debuffs from the enemies, which is great. So, since Kohaku is my point person, I want her to be able to deal as much damage as possible, especially early. So, being able to take advantage of the low MP and keeping it low, since she does have Sharp Eyes in her skill kit, it just works well with her. And there are other characters that have this too. So if you have somebody else on point that also happens to have sharp eyes, definitely good to have it. Even if they don't have sharp eyes, I mean, your MP is going to start at 0 anyway. So whoever your point person is, using this particular arc is not a bad idea just because it's going to do what it needs to do. So I think that's pretty awesome. Now, another arc that you may want to consider on just having in general, I would probably give this to somebody that you're not going to control, like not really your point person. But Pirate Ship Legness is really good for a few reasons. So now the first part of the ability doesn't really matter. It's the second, well, it's the rest of it. Now, when a female ally dies, all stats plus 35% is pretty good, but the main reason you use this arc is it grants the party flinch resistance for the first 10 seconds of battle. Having that flinch resistance in the beginning of the fight is going to give you a lot of advantage. So, whenever your opponent's attacking you, you're going to basically shrug it off and keep on attacking. And that's what that's for, is to keep the offense going. If you can knock your enemies down before the 10 seconds is up, that's going to give you a huge advantage. So I highly recommend that to be a part of your build for a character that you're probably not controlling. And that's the main reason. Now, another arc you might want to consider, and this is just to show that you don't have to use an SSR arc for all of your characters. Sometimes the most basic of arcs can be good enough. This is just a rare arc, Thunderstone Luster. Now, this is for a specific strategy that a lot of people in the arena use, especially a lot of the top players. So, boost Thunder Magic attack damage by 50%. That's okay, but that's not the reason. Here is the reason you use this arc. Thunder Magic costs minus 1 MP, which is very good. That means you're going to do it sooner. And it adds a chance of stunning to Thunder Magic. So, when you cast Valzer Rise, which is basically the time stop third tier spell that does, a ton of damage for Thunder, you have a good chance of being able to stun pretty much the entire party. Now, it's not guaranteed, you just have a chance, but that's pretty good. So that's why I'm currently running Guardian Angel Lukiel, since she naturally has Valzer Rise, and she's just an all around strong unit in general. So with her and Valzer Rise equipped with Thunderstone Luster, whenever she gets enough MP to cast a spell, which this will make you cast it sooner, I mean, it could potentially change the rest of the match. So that's something that you're going to see a lot of people do. Now, for a recommendation, because believe it or not, she might not be the best person to use this. A lot of your high, ranking players will use Lily instead. And there's a reason for it. Because no, she doesn't come with Valzer Rise, but you're going to equip it. Because in her kit, I think it's one of her traits, the magic spells that she casts deal, I believe, extra hits. I'm not sure if it's double or just a certain amount more, but when she casts Valzer Rise, it's going to be hitting more than any other character's Valzer Rise, which means that with Lily, you have a much higher chance of causing stun to the entire opponent's team. So that's why you'll see more people using Lily to do that, and that's a pretty strong idea. I currently don't have Lily, so I haven't taken advantage of it, but I've seen a lot of opponents do that, and it makes sense why they're doing it. So if you don't have Guardian Angel Lukiel, but you have, Lily, definitely would recommend using her in that slot. There's definitely nothing wrong with that. And then here's what I love, how you can be creative. Now, what I'm about to kind of talk about this isn't something that's like top tier competitive. This is just me coming up with an idea that's fun that just happens to work every now and then. So on my fourth slot, I'm running Nocturne Tinkili. Why? Well, at the beginning of the battle, you're going to be able to give all of your opponents a random low stat, whether it's strength, defense, intelligence, or mind. It's getting lowered, and she's going to get a boost compared, depending on how much of the total amount is lower, which is pretty strong. On top of that, let's say everyone's strength is lowered, so all of those Dilmortos and all those other good Kohakus that are going to be hitting you, they won't be hitting you for as much at the beginning of the battle, which is very important because a lot of times the beginning of the battles will determine who's going to win. And that's not always the case. There are some back and forth battles which I've been in, but in general, against most of your opponents, if whoever gets ahead first is going to win. So if you're able to potentially lower the amount of damage you're taking while being aggressive, your chances of winning are going to be really good. Now, again, her ability is random, so it's not always going to lower their strength. It might lower their defense, which is still good. That means my Kohaku can go in the background and knock them out, a lot faster. Whatever the case may be, that ability is still pretty good. She also deals more damage to melee units, which is also a really good advantage. So that's a good thing too. And I'm doing something that's kind of fun. So as you can tell, I have her prioritized to cast dark magic, not just because of the fact that she naturally casts dark magic, but I'm running a specific arc. So the Ghost Hime Ogetsu. Now this isn't like a top tier like combination. This is just something I'm doing for fun that can work. When taking it says when taking damage, chance to receive Brave Aura crit or haste. Now that's pretty good, but that's not the reason I use it. So it also says chance for dark attack magic to give curse, and then at battle start give all enemies spirit rot. So you're getting a lot for this. So what does spirit rot do? That's that spell that periodically damages an enemy and halves its HP recovery. So if you've dealt them tons of damage and they're about to cast God Heal, which is a very common thing, it might not heal for as much because of that. They're also constantly taking damage, so that kind of puts them on the clock too. So there's a lot of things that this does. And then, of course, the chance for Dark Matters to give them curse is super strong because of the fact that a lot of the damage that you're going to be taking, at least from a physical DPS characters, is going to be through their skills. And best believe they're going to have skill charge up and all that kind of stuff. So this could be a way to sort of counteract that kind of stuff. Now, this isn't something that I would say is a must or is necessary. This is just something that I'm playing with that's just a lot of fun. But it does work. So it's just something to try. Now, I will eventually be replacing either her or Celios with another character, possibly a tank, and I'll explain why in a bit, just because I thought it was something interesting to try. But that brings me kind of to Celios. Why is he in my team? Isn't he like outdated? He is outdated, but the reason that I like him, and this is good for people who don't have Kohaku or a lot of the other good, point characters to start dealing physical damage. The good thing about Celios is he has blessed speed, and he has a lot of the good killers and slayers against other humans, like knights, soldiers, and things of the like. So he's going to be able to deal a good amount of damage to certain arena characters as well. And then, of course, you can equip special boosts to make that damage even higher. I think it's like 20% or something. So because of that, that makes him still decent in arena. So I think that he's not bad to use. I mean, granted, yeah, there are better characters like Ohaku and a few others, but that's my boy, and that's the main reason I use him. He's kind of like my backup DPS when Kohaku eventually dies, because that does tend to happen. So, and that's kind of why I do it. He just can potentially deal that kind of damage. Now, I think that that's going to be more or less it as far as combinations that I currently use. There are other things you can do to, be more creative. So I highly suggest, kind of look at your characters, look at your arcs, what matches what. When I first used Celios as my point person, I actually had a different arc. I believe I had the ice one. Yeah, the Icy Guardian, because basically it gives you more boost to crit rates and damage and all that stuff. So, there are different things you can do that can make your damage a lot more. So, like I said, it's more a matter of preference. Feel free to kind of play around. But that's not it. I kind of want to go over a couple of ideas for builds for the arena. I'm just not going to use my list because I don't want to show you everything that I'm doing, because that's just certain things that I'd like to keep to myself. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give you a couple of ideas for some good builds for like a physical DPS. What kind of abilities should you consider? And I say consider because a lot of times it just depends on the character. It depends on your preference, how you've been successful, things of that nature. So we're going to use my boy Balin here as an example. So I basically, oh yeah, one thing that I will say for equipment, make sure that you do set up an equipment for arena offense and defense. It's gonna make a difference because if you just go to arena and you just start fighting, assuming that your quest equipment's gonna already be there, you're literally gonna have no equipment. So be sure when you're there, or even on this screen, go to arena and make sure that you do equip whatever equipment you want for that particular character. And then, as far as skills are concerned, which is why we're here, you know, same thing. Make sure you tap on arena attack and arena defense if you're using that character and build them up. I basically built a kind of a mock idea just for an example. So this is some things you may want to consider. Now, for a physical DPS characters don't typically cast spells. Balin is obviously an exception, but if you're using Balin, just kind of pick one of the stances that you want. And if he's going to be your front person, I'll recommend just starting off the match casting, whichever stance you want, and then just, but basically spam his S1 and then go on from there. Now, but the passes is really the important thing here more than anything else for most of the characters that are going to be your point runner. So obviously, you want as much attack ups as you can. Crit is also very important, and of course, if you want to use Proud Force to continue to keep your HP up to some degree, that can be helpful. But basically, try to deal as much damage as you can by taking advantage of aim vitals and advanced aim vitals. Now, illusion, he naturally has it. I typically don't go out of my way to use this unless it's for like a mage or something that I would prefer not to get hit. But if the person naturally has it, it's more just an added bonus. But the main thing here that he's going to really want, and other people will want too, I highly recommend Fast Vacation. This is basically the best of both worlds. You're getting increased to attack and defense on all sides for only 5 SC. So it's kind of a discount. Instead of having to do like Fast Brave, Fast this, Fast that, just do Fast Vacation and you're good to go. Also, I would highly recommend Happy Halloween for some characters. The fact that you could start the game with some good defense, including vitality and haste, is a big deal. The vitality is going to be more of an HP shield to you in the beginning of the match, which could definitely make a huge difference. So, and then the haste in the beginning, getting those skills to go up faster in the beginning, also very important. I think Happy Halloween is a very very good thing to have, and for 9 SC that's pretty good. Now, the only reason I don't have this equipped on Balin in this example is he already has auto haste, so he doesn't need it. So a fast haste and auto haste will not stack because it's basically the same ability being cast twice. You're not getting like they just don't stack. You don't just become faster in your SCT. So you're better off just saving your SC at that point. But if a character does not have auto haste, I would definitely highly recommend doing Happy Halloween because you're going to get that haste at the beginning, and of course you're going to get a lot of good defensive buffs at the same time, keeping you alive for longer. Like I said, the beginning of the match is going to more or less, I'll say 80% of the time, will determine who's going to be the winner. So the fast abilities are really, really strong in the arena more than anything else. Because in things like Tower, you're better off having auto abilities than fast abilities. But in the arena, fast abilities are going to be your bread and butter. So that's very important to know. But yeah, fast vacation always is a good thing to have. Happy Halloween is good if the character does not have auto haste naturally. Now, if they have like anything else, if you don't have haste, you want this. Simple as that. It's just something to think about. Another skill that I always recommend when I'm making these videos for character impressions, when I see that they have awakened, I always say it's a good thing because that means that they saved 9 SC. But it's worth having specifically in the arena because yes, your HP is going to get low. So basically, what this does is recovers HP and increases your strength, defense, mind, and movement speed when close to death one time. So whenever that your opponent, which they're going to knock your people down to pretty low, this is a way for you to automatically gain HP and increase a good chunk of your stats so that you can potentially knock them out. Really, really good ability to have on there for pretty much any character. It doesn't matter if they're physical DPS, if they're like your mage that's trying to control whatever. It's good for everyone. So I highly recommend Awaken over a lot of other abilities you can have. And then moving along, now as far as like attack raises, I recommend having it for whatever element you have, just because it's going to up your damage. So there's nothing wrong with having it, especially if they have it naturally. Why not? I think there's other things over here too. Okay, I want to talk about Head Bash a little bit. Now, Head Bash is a decent ability. It's not going to always happen. There is a reason that I gave it to him specifically, and this may apply to other characters, so I'll explain here in a minute. But basically, what Head Bash does is it makes the enemy faint easier. It's basically another way to potentially stun a character, but the chances are going to be lower, is my understanding. The reason that I have Head Bash on him specifically is because he for free has Chance Drive. Chance Drive damage to enemy fainted or in break plus 20%. So if he already has this naturally to be able to deal more damage, which is 20% by the way, which is a lot for someone that's fainted, why not go ahead and give them the ability to make them faint easier? So basically, this is more of a combo thing. If you don't have Chance Drive naturally, you don't necessarily have to have Head Bash, but I figured if you have Chance Drive, you should equip that. It's not a bad ability in Arena to have, and you're going to get more damage out of it anyway if you have the other ability naturally. Now, I will talk about Holy Aura. This is Holy Aura is something that I typically don't use unless it's either one, someone who just naturally gets it for free, because that's just, I mean, your free damage boost is free damage boost, right? But if they don't have it for free, the only time you're going to see me equip this is for someone that has dual wield. Because when you're dual wielding, your actual attack damage is going to be a little bit less per hit. So this kind of helps to mitigate that just a little bit. So that's the only reason I'd use that. Not something that I'd recommend in general, but that's why it's there. And of course, any kind of like weapon boost, whether it's sword high boost, rod, or I think it's like staff high boost, those things are always going to be good, especially if you're trying to deal as much damage as possible. So that's always good to have. But one thing that I think is gets underestimated are the clothing boost, especially the clothing boost and clothing high boost. The robe stuff people typically use, but most people don't care for the clothing ones. And I would just have to say that maybe you should reconsider. This is another thing that you're getting the best of both worlds because with clothing high boost, basically you get defense and mind plus 10% when you're equipping clothes and physical attack damage 10%. So think of it as like a physical fast vacation. So when with this you're getting it more or less twice. It's pretty good. And then of course if you have regular clothes boost, you're still getting added percentages to your defense and your offense. So this is something that you should definitely consider if the person that you're using equips clothing and has it equipped. The sun is going to make a big difference in arena because again, the amount of defense you have and the amount of offense you have is going to matter, especially in the early game. And if you can make it to where you're stacked in the beginning, your chances of winning are going to be really, really high. I should consider using him in arena to be honest, but we'll talk about that later. Something else that you're going to see a lot of is skill charge and quick trigger. Quick trigger being the best of them because basically you already have one skill stock already full at the start of battle. So you're going to be able to automatically cast one of your skills in the beginning. But having these charges where you start the match with a little bit of a boost means you're going to be using your skills more often. You're going to be able to use your skills faster, sooner. So it's good to have in the beginning just to kind of give you that early advantage. So you're going to see a lot of people using this in general. So I think it's a good thing to have as well. Now, one thing that I will say is debatable. I don't think I have this equipped on anyone in my team, but it's something to consider because I consider this one of the fast abilities. So now this is only from one of the limited arcs, but your demon like way. So battle start, auto cast, Grand Brave, critical, and speed. Now this is one of those skills that I think is super strong, but doesn't belong to everyone. A lot of the best characters that you're going to be able to play already have either auto crit or automatic speed. Well, maybe not. That's not. Let me rephrase that. Either they have auto crit or bless speed. So to get just those two might not be worth it. It's really the Grand Brave that sells it. So if you don't have Bless Speed or Auto Crit in that character's kit naturally for free, then you might want to use this because this is kind of a fast vacation. It's a little more expensive, but more on the offensive side. You're getting the extra amount of damage that you would normally get from regular Brave, because Brave only gives you like I think maybe 20% at most, and I think Grand Brave gives you 35%. I might be wrong, so you feel free to correct me. But Grand Brave is better as far as on offense. Critical is good to have, and of course, you want to be able to get to them faster with speed. So this is a pretty good combination of things to have. The problem here is that this particular character already has well, he doesn't have bless speed, but he does have auto crit, if I'm not mistaken, if I can find it. Yeah, he has auto crit, so he doesn't necessarily need it. And I'm not too worried about giving him Grand Braid because he has a lot of other abilities that up his offense already. So I'd have to basically remove something that might be better to put that in. So it might not be worth it for this particular character, but maybe for another character that doesn't have automatic boost like that he already has. So it's just something to consider if you happen to get the arc that this belongs to. This was in the I forgot what it's called already. The ReZero call out that we just had. That's where that comes from. So if you didn't get that, this probably doesn't mean anything to you. But for those that have been thinking about it, I think this is something to consider. But I would say that all the other fast abilities are going to be better choices than this. Like even the Halloween one, I would argue that the Halloween one might be better to have in general too. And of course, the Halloween one was only for that particular event, as well the one we're currently in right now. So that's kind of an idea, kind of a skeleton on how to build a character that's your physical DPS in Arena. And I'm going to kind of go on a little bit of a tangent and bring up another build that you're not going to see too much of, but you never know. Sometime in the future, this might be viable. So, at least in this video, you'll have a skeleton of it. I'm going to talk about a tank build, and I'm going to use Melza as the example. Now, admittedly, yes, I do have Roland, who would be a better tank, but I'm using her because I already have her mostly built, where I don't really have Roland built right now. So, I'll kind of go over anything that would apply to Roland. I'll go ahead and tell you, but Roland has this just to make things a little easier. So the reason that tanks could potentially be good in the future, if the devs balance it a little bit better, is that the thing about tanks that make them potentially good is that one, they can taunt, which means that you take all the attention away from the people actually dealing the damage and causing the stuns and all that stuff. And these characters won't die so easily, at least on paper. So, using Melza as the example, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a defensive, some defensive stuff. Actually, hold on. Before I go into that, let's take a look at equipment because that's kind of important too for the kind of build. Now we're talking about the guard build, by the way, and I actually didn't quite build her correctly because I'm missing one thing. Yeah, I am missing something. Oh, I know why. Because yeah, okay. So as far as accessories are concerned, because this is kind of where I'm going with, you want stuff that can up your chance of being able to guard. So Bell of Warning is going to be kind of a must unless they come out with something better. Because this is one of the only abilities that ups your chance. When equipped with automatic guard, equipment guard rate plus 5%. So your percent to guard is fairly low, and it rarely happens. Now, in order to basically make guard more consistent, is that one, I would recommend controlling the character if you want to go that route. Make that your point person, and just don't attack. Just move around and kind of get in everybody's way. Try to distract them from the people that's doing the main work for you. And another thing that I would consider if you're going to go the guard build is not ogre shield, because I think I meant to give this to somebody else, but you should be using Shield of Aegis. Oh, I have it on Roland, but that's probably why. So basically, what this does is when automatic guard activates, damage taken minus 25%. So this basically just makes you more tanky. And then, of course, you do have some boost to your defense in your mind. So that's something to consider as well. Something else that I would also consider now, when it comes to armor, ideally you want something that will up the chance of you getting attacked. Now, what I did here, kind of as a test, is I'm running something that I just got recently. The less HP the unit has, the more defense in mind they have. That's kind of cool, but you might be better off finding something that makes you easier to be targeted. Like I think this might be one, more likely to be targeted by enemies, and then healing magic costs one minus one MP. Now, the reason that this might be a better idea is for two reasons. Well, if you're casting, because you don't want to just be doing nothing and just like while running around, you want to be able to kind of help too. If you equip God Heal, which is going to be more applied to Roland, there is a male version of this that's for men that does a similar thing. And so if you have a God Heal, you can basically attract attention, and when one of your characters is actually low and you don't have anyone right in front of you, you can just cast God Heal on them. Instead of having to have a dedicated healer, you could use your tank as a healer, potentially. So that's kind of another idea that you can do to make it to where you're attracting more attention. Now, the rate of attracting other people's attention, I'm assuming is pretty low, but I'm not too sure. I don't know the percentages, but that's something to kind of keep in mind. Now, the skills that you're going to want to consider if this ever becomes a viable option, because right now you're not seeing really much as far as tanks are concerned, but you never know, that could change. That is one thing some people do complain about, is the fact that tanks are not relevant. So I'm making this video partially to kind of say if they ever does become viable, at least you have a start. There will probably be better abilities by the time tanks become a little more relevant. So this is just kind of a skeleton idea. So obviously you want more hit points, you want more defense, maybe magic defense. I mean, those are kind of the things you're going for. And the guard is the main thing you're focusing on. So with Melza, she already has guard, which basically a chance for you to guard automatically. Steel guard basically reduces the damage when you're guarding, and then vigilant basically ups the chance of it actually occurring. And then spell guard gives you the chance to guard against magic attack, which is very, very important because you're going to see a lot of people casting Blizzard, Vows of Rise, stuff like that. Heal guard basically gives you an HP regen when you're guarding. So you don't necessarily have to be constantly manually healing yourself. You could potentially get a regen on your own. Magic Guard, I would only suggest this if you're going to be casting God Heal. Basically, when you're guarding, your MP recovers slightly. So it's kind of a magic circles when guarding. So that could be good too if you're the type, like Roland, for example. Roland actually has God Heal in his kit. So I would have Magic Guard on him because I know that that's what he's going to do. Guard charge, which is also important. Basically, it makes your SCT go up when you're guarding. So if you want to just kind of walk around, but then still be able to cast skills to do more damage or whatever that person can do, that's a good way to kind of charge your SCT without having to really physically attack. So that's pretty good too. Now, Grand Guard, it's I don't think it's important right now because again tanks are not viable. But if tanks do become a big deal, this is going to be important because people are going to start using characters that can break guard pretty easily. So this will be a good way to stop that. Right now, not relevant, but it could be relevant later if it does become a thing. Royal armor is not really worth having, in my opinion. Reducing the chance of receiving critical hits. I mean, the good thing about this is they're not going to be activating their Proud Force very often, or you're also preventing them from getting certain boosts to doing crits. So it has its reasons for being there, but for 8SC, I feel like there are better options. But I want to bring this up because, you know, if you want to prevent their crits from doing so, this is kind of the way to do it. And then I would also recommend illusion, just because being able to dodge naturally is pretty good too. You don't necessarily have to just take damage because of your tank. If you can dodge while you're at it, why not? That just keeps you alive longer. Um, as far as other recommendations, obviously fast vacation you want more for the defensive part of it, but it's still worth it. And getting a little bit of an offensive boost doesn't hurt. Obviously, Happy Halloween, you're getting your automatic fort and metas and vitality because you want to get extra hit points in the beginning to tank damage. And then the haste is more just of an added bonus if you want to get certain skills to activate faster, like I discussed earlier. But yeah, I would say Happy Halloween and Fast Vacation are definitely a must if you have them. Awaken, I've already discussed this, but this is another way for you to continue to be tanky because when this character is about to die, you can get healed, and of course your defense and everything's going to go up, and then you can potentially do more damage. And that's really, for the most part, oh yeah, allure. You do need this if you're doing the tank build, just to try to make it to where the enemy is more focused on the tank and not other characters. So you want that. Also, damage absorption. You want that, and there's also damage absorption too, which I haven't learned with her yet. And there's also one that does the same thing for magic damage as well. You're gonna want all of that. Being able to take damage and get healed in the process, definitely a must. So I would definitely recommend doing that. If Now, my understanding is that every single tank that we have in a game doesn't wear clothes; they wear armor. So the clothing boost, as much as I would like that, is not going to apply. But if you have an armor boost, like I think you can get it with Roland and what are the other ones' names? I forgot their name. Oh, Zuglis and Lanceville. Uh, for them, you're gonna want to get armor boosts, and if you want to use Melza, you can give that to her as well, and that's gonna give you a good boost to your defense. So that's something to consider too if you happen to have those skills. And some people might, recommend decoy or determination. I don't think that those are necessary in arena. I think that you want to save your SC for some of the other stuff that I mentioned. I wouldn't worry about that too much. And that's for the most part all that you need. Now, I might be missing one or two things because I may not have certain skills for this particular character. But this is basically what you would need if you wanted to build a tank build. And I think using the guard strategy is definitely going to be one of the best ways to stay alive. And again, you can control this character or any tank character as your point character and just literally move around. Just make it to where like you're moving maybe behind the enemy so that certain people are more focused on you and you're dividing their forces and that basically you can deal more damage. So if you want to do that, that might be really a good way to make things happen. And again, I'm only bringing this up because even though tanks are not a big deal now, they could become a big deal later. So at least you're somewhat prepared with a few ideas. Now, obviously the characters that you're going to want to use as a tank is going to be just about anyone, like either Melza, Roland if you have them, uh, Zuglis if you have him, or Lanceville. Now, the only ones that I currently have, I have Melza, I have Roland, and I have Zuglis. Who's the best? Probably Roland. Because when I got Roland, I mean, obviously he was overhyped and all that stuff, and I do agree that Roland is the most overhyped character. But he does have really, really good stats. And the fact that he's basically what Melza should have been is a testament that he's basically the one you want to use. But if you were not one of the ones that got Roland, then Melza is Her stats are not great, but you can awaken her up a few times, and hopefully that can make a difference. Or if you were fortunate to get Lanceville or Zuglis, those are probably just better characters in general to use as far as, tanking is concerned. Tanking and dealing more damage. So, there are options out there. Oh, and by the way, just random note, the Spirit Blade that I have for Melza is actually a replica. If you play the story subquest, it's basically a replica of the blade she used in the old war against the War of Ruin. So, God Ruin. So it's kind of a cool little thing to have. Just kind of wanted to bring that up. But that's pretty much going to be it for now. Honorable mention. I'll just do one honorable mention, which is going to be our boy Sinku. I feel bad because I haven't really been using him much. I mainly use him in the tower because he does so amazing in the tower. But I do see people using him in the arena, and what I like about him is he's kind of an off tank. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He has good stats as far as intelligence is concerned. At least you can tell with mine. So obviously he's going to be dealing a lot of damage, but it's more like the stuff that you can do not only with his skills to be able to kind of, restore. Basically, it's his traits that's the big thing. He's kind of a tank because when unit is alive, power of oh sorry no this isn't it. It's one of his skills that I'm wrong on. But basically, he can do a ton of damage, but he can also tank as well. I'm just trying to find the ability that he has that makes him a pretty good tank. It's basically one of his passives that basically to where he shrugs damage more or less. Where is it? Uh, it might be like his bottom one. Oh, I gave him that's something else. Oh, here it is. Taiju's protection. During battle, a certain amount of damage is always cut. The more max hit points, the more is cut. So basically, if you build him with all of the HPs, boosts that are currently available, you'll actually be able to shrug damage and be alive. Now, you're not going to necessarily use him as a tank. He's considered an off tank because he can tank better than the average character, and while still being able to do other things like debuff and deal tons of damage. So Sinku, if you happen to have him, he's another really, really good character to use. Now, I'm not going to go over an arena build with him. This is just an honorable mention, but someone to consider. And that's the thing that I like is that you can be very creative, not just with the characters, but even with the arcs that they use. And I don't believe that there's really a specific meta for the arena. Like I said, what I've told you is basically just ideas that some people use and things that I've tried. So, be creative. Look at what the characters do, find an arc that might complement what they do, and see what it does. You can for free test it against your friends. So I recommend doing that if you want to see if the idea you have is any good or not. So there you have it. All right, so before we end the video, we want to go ahead and do a multi-poll just because, obviously there's not going to be a whole lot going on because we're still doing the 1.5 year anniversary, which, by the way, happy 1.5 years. I'm glad to see this game is still going strong. But let's go ahead and just do a quick multi poll. I'm not expecting to get anything. I do already have Ray, which I'm happy to have. But let's just see if anything random pops up. Pretty much all the Descent of Hero characters are available. I did pull Zuglis about a few days ago, so I already got him, and I got Ray. So let's see if I can get either one of the arcs I don't have, or one of the other Descent of Hero characters that I haven't got yet. I think I'm missing like Lily, um, Zex, and like one or two others. Okay, so it's yellow. Nope, we're getting absolutely nothing. And that's okay. I didn't really have high expectations or high hopes on it. And no, I'm not going to blow my load to keep trying because chances are I'm not going to get anything. And then I won't be able to get whatever the next character that comes out is. But there you have it. That was kind of the arena roundup, if you will. Just kind of some suggestions things that you can do to potentially be better. I know this is a long video, so sorry that it took so long, but if you stayed this long, I 100% appreciate you taking the time to actually watch this entire thing of me just talking basically. So hopefully this has been somewhat educational for you guys. And if you have any suggestions that I didn't mention, please say something in the comments. Just say, hey, by the way, if you use this character with this arc, there's some other things, cool things you can do. You know, the purpose of this video is just to kind of brainstorm and come up with ideas that could be cool for the arena, to make the arena more fun. You know, like I said, this is one of the best games for arena because it's more about creativity than luck. So that's why I figured why not give it a shot. And like I said to the devs, my only suggestion is I would highly think that you should do something where maybe the top X amount of people, like 50 or 100 or whatever, at the end of a week gets like, I don't know, 100 crystals or something. Now, I'm probably lowballing that amount. Maybe it should be higher, but I'm just kind of giving you an example of something that might make being competitive actually worth it. Because just for the blue and red orbs and then some mother souls, I don't think that that's going to be enough for people to actually try to be in the top. And I think that you want to try to engage with your audience as far as, you know, wanting them to actually play more and more modes to get them playing your game longer. So just something to consider in the future. And like I said, if you guys have any other suggestions on how to make the arena better, feel free to throw a comment in there. You know, like I said, I think this is a good arena setup overall. There's just minor tweaks that it might need to be better, but nothing super crazy. All right, but I've rambled long enough. So again, thank you for watching. I highly appreciate it. Keep gaming on. Take care. Later.